Welcome back to another Testimony Tuesday. This testimony is about God's goodness and protection over my husband and two other missionaries as they traveled to Venezuela to preach and teach and just love on those communities in that jungle area of Venezuela. So, for my husband and these other two missionaries, they had a long travel day. The day prior, they actually had to take a bus because there were no flights from Bogota to the city where they needed to get to. And so they actually had to take, I think it was about a 3-hour bus ride from Bogota to Villavicencio. And then they took a flight from Villavicencio to Puerto Inirida. Well, their flight was originally around midday. So they were supposed to get there around noon, hop on a little canoe, head down the river, and they were supposed to be at their village at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, roughly. Well, the flight was delayed. And so they didn't get to Puerto Inirida until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And part of the issue with that was they were traveling by river in a motorized canoe. And they were nervous because the later that it gets, the less visibility you have on the river. And so they needed to get to the village inside of the jungle quickly. They needed things to go well. They needed to get on the boat, get their things, and get to where they were going so that it didn't get dark. It's also an issue because in the darkness, there are other potential dangers. And so anyway, they get on this little motorized canoe. They've got their stuff packed up. They're all ready. They're excited. They finally got there after delayed travel. And they start headed down the river. And this river, so they're heading down the river, and one half is Colombia and one half is Venezuela. The river literally divides the territories. And so they're headed down the river. They had about 2.5 to 3 hours on the river to get to the village. So they're headed down and the boat shuts off. And so they have to start the boat up again. And all right, we're ready. We keep going. Let's go. Well, mind you, it's getting later, and so they're nervous about it becoming dark and not being able to travel well by river in the dark. The boat shut off 3 times. And so at that point, they're getting a little bit more nervous. It's getting dark, but they're keeping going. They know that they've got to get there. God's with them. They're going to be good. So this is where the story gets interesting. So they're headed down the river in their little motorized canoe, and all of a sudden, out from the side of the river, the Venezuelan side of the river, pulls a canoe similar to what they had and starts to try to cut them off. And instantly they realized this is a pirate ship. That's the best way of wording it. It's people that want to stop us to either steal or charge us passage to go through this area. But it's not a good thing. And so the driver of my husband's boat sees what they're doing and pulls behind the boat and passes them from behind and puts the motor on full blast. Remember, this motor has turned off 3 times already, and now they are outrunning a pirate ship with an unstable motor. So Andres' boat pulls out in front, and the pirate boat starts in behind them, and they're saying, come back. Almost like a warning of come back to us before it gets worse. And so Andres and the other two missionaries and the group of locals are in their canoe, and they are booking it. They're going as fast as they can. And my husband turned to one of the other missionaries who was, I believe it was his first ever mission trip. And he looks at Lucas and says, it's time to pray. Pray that the motor doesn't shut off again. And they went to God in that moment, in that canoe, in that fear, in that anxiousness. They turned that moment over to God and said, God, we need you. We need your protection. We need your guidance. We need your help. And let me tell you, God showed up. Their motor not only had it already turned off 3 times, but it was a small motorized canoe, and they're outrunning another boat. God did great things. Their motor did not shut off again. And this small motorized canoe, weighed down with their luggage and multiple people, outran the pirate ship. And they got away and were safe. And they ended up getting to the village that they needed in good time. They were there before it got completely dark, and they were able to get in and get settled. And so just a reminder to us to remember who is with us even when we face obstacles that seem insurmountable, obstacles that are just way more than we humanly, physically, mentally, emotionally can handle, just to know that God is there. So whatever you are facing today, whatever obstacle you're facing, remember that you can hand it over to God as well and trust that He is with you, that He sees you, and that He hears you. We love you, and we'll see you guys on the next Testimony Tuesday.